Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm your host, JP John Paz. With me today, a very special guest, former seven-time NWA World Tag Team Champion. He's, of course, the Wildcat, Chris Harris. Chris, welcome back to the two-man power trip. How you doing?
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
So what's up? What's going on in your world?
I'll just trying to live the life of wrestling, man. Bookings and signings and just things like that. Just trying to stay busy.
Recently, you were on Impact Wrestling. How did that all come about? Almost a bit of a return.
Yeah, that was great. So Slammiversary was coming up, and um, I think they were looking to do a few extra things, and I was available. Storm was available, and we just talked about maybe doing something with the Good Brothers, and then of course they were already in a program with the Briscoes. So yeah, we just kind of made an appearance, just a little bit of nostalgia there, and had fun with that. But then some other ideas came about to do some more and actually wrestle at the next major event. So things just worked through. I'm just very fortunate that I was part of all that.
Yeah, it's pretty shocking to see AMW made a return after all these years, but it's really cool, though.
Yeah, it was really fun, and I mean, it was great to, little things like hearing the music and seeing our video wall, and just walking out with Storm, doing our promos in the back. It was a lot of fun, and I was very happy to be able to relive that.
Pretty cool 20 years later. And, still talking about AMW. It shows the impact you guys had, no pun intended there with impact, but it shows you what you guys did over all these years that everybody remembers AMW.
Yeah, it's crazy. 20 years when you think about it, and sometimes it's like, yeah, I guess it has been that long, and sometimes I can't believe it's been that long. It just seems like not that long ago that Storm and I were riding up and down the roads and doing our matches and um, on Impact and the pay per views. I mean, it doesn't seem like that long ago. So yeah, to be able to do that again and be able to ride with him again, which we keep in touch. We do appearances and uh, bookings, but to be able to do it on that level was pretty cool again. To be able to be under the Impact umbrella.
How did you feel like physically? Were you good? Good to go afterwards?
I Yeah, I don't do a whole lot of wrestling anymore. I mean, when I say that, I only say that because sometimes it just pops up. But no, I really haven't done a whole lot of wrestling. I just really do the appearances and signings and things like that. But when they came up with the idea of doing a 10 man for Against All Odds, I thought you can't be any better protected than in a 10 man. So yeah, I thought about it and we went ahead and went through with that. So I thought the story was great. Everything that they laid out was just a really great story, and um, yeah, to be able to you know step back in the ring and Storm and I tagging up again, so that was pretty cool.
Is it like riding a bike or no? Not necessarily.
In some ways, it is, yeah. Getting in there and there is such thing as ring rust, but they're I don't know. Yeah, just once a wrestler, always a wrestler. There's just certain instincts that take over, and it'd been a while since I've been in the ring like that, but it felt natural. It felt great to be able to do some of the signature moves was pretty cool. So I enjoyed it all the way around.
So it was you guys, AMW, Heath, and the Good Brothers. You guys defeated Honor No More against all odds. So, I mean, it was an important match, was an important show. But I mean, like I said, it's just awesome having you and Storm back together and them kind of honoring the past.
Yeah, it was a little bit of everything because I've always enjoyed the Good Brothers, and I've known Carl for many years. We trained at the same place. Um, but yeah, to bring a little bit of the past in there, then and they had been doing 8 man, 10 man with Honor No More, so that was right up their alley. But then to put 5 of us together, it was just a little bit of everything for that one, and add heat to the mix. So it was pretty cool.
Are you going to be doing anything else with Impact?
Not as of right now. Yeah, we just kind of carried that, and of course, the story could have been carried a little longer. But the truth is, if there was any way to go out, it couldn't have been any more perfect for me to be able to have that moment, and to be able to perform the death sentence one more time. There's a lot of different areas that we could have gone on, but um, I almost don't want to tarnish that. If that's really it. Let's not add to it just to add to it just for story's sake. So I'm pretty happy with the way it ended, and I'd love to keep working with Impact, maybe behind the scenes.
Oh, would you like maybe like a road agent position, something in that, or more towards creative? Like, what were you thinking?
Uh, I've thought about the agent producer type role. I do that kind of now on a local level, but yeah, I think I'd fit right in with something like that because just putting matches together and getting creative and um, doing little tweaks and things like that. I think that's always been one of my assets. So yeah, I'd love to do something like that. And if I was ever going to do it, Impact would be the place I'd love to get in with.
Do you think the door is absolutely open? Like, there's a good relationship there. You guys are still communicating.
Yeah, there's a great relationship there, and they know I'm interested. So, if it ever happens down the road, then hope maybe I'll get the call. But right now, they seem to be in a good position. They have every they have their agents and their coaches, and they're doing great just the way they are. So, but I definitely put my name in the hat, and maybe something down the line. Who knows?
Now you said you're doing a little bit of that on the local level. Like, where are you working, and what are you doing as far as some of the indies?
So yeah, I work with it's the Northern Wrestling Federation. It's based out of Cincinnati. It's headed by Roger Ruffin. He was a referee
Oh yeah.
for WWF back in the day. Um, but that was the training center that started me. I mentioned Carl Anderson was there. Abyss trained there. We got a couple guys coming up right now that are looking really good, making their way in the wrestling world. But yeah, I help train a couple days a week, and then we have shows every weekend. So I just really have taken a lot of these guys under my wing and just do what I can. Just try to, if I can't do it in the ring, at least pass some knowledge on to them and some experience. And I'm really hands on with these guys. So at the shows, anytime we're having shows, I kind of get the word from the boss what he wants, and then I go to work, get with all the guys on their matches, and just it's really just kind of like the producers on the higher level do. Just get back with them afterwards, and after they've gone through what the ideas are, and kind of proofread everything, and see the finished product out there. And I get one thing I always wondered about. You just really never get that high that you do when you're performing yourself in the ring. When everything just really, the reaction of the crowd, and your match goes really well. And for me to be able to see these guys go out and do that, and being a part of helping them put this together, I mean, it really does give me that high. So I still get that feeling from it, and it's very satisfying. So I'm really enjoying doing that.
Are you kind of transitioning totally away from the ring, or you still want to be able to wrestle?
Oh no, I really don't wrestle at all. Um,
Do you
but
not want to, or you want to retire, or is this something you're still open to
well, it's
doing?
just the injuries have piled up, and I've had health concerns, and there's just a lot of reasons why I shouldn't be in the ring. So this is perfect for me to do something like this. But you never say never in wrestling. I learned that a long time ago. So I don't even say the word retire because such as what happened with Impact. If I've stepped away from the ring, not long ago, but from a full time scale. And when something came up, I was like, I just, you can't pass that up. So, yeah, I won't say the retire word. And, you just never say never in wrestling. So, but I really enjoy being on this side of it.
When you look at it, like what you're doing now, as far as aging and stuff, you said that's good enough. Like, as far as you getting that that rush, if you will, like that's good. Like you can do that and still be happy with wrestling.
Oh yeah, this is a perfect transition. I feel like I still have a lot left to give. So if I can't physically get in there and do it myself, I'd love to pass on what I do know, and because I have done a lot and have a lot of knowledge. I've been hit in the head quite a few times, but there's still something in there. So if I can pass that along, man, I really I want to do that, and I enjoy that.
So what's the relationship like with James Storm right now, AMW partner? You said you still chat all the time.
Yeah, yeah, we're buddies, and when we get bookings, most of them are him wrestling, and I'll be in his corner. Or if like convention work is pretty popular nowadays, we'll do the conventions, and so yeah, we still have some traveling once in a while, and still keep in touch. He's maybe in a transition period as well. He's had looked into other options, so he's been the smarter of the two. I never really had a plan B, and but he's had other options that he can eventually get all the way out of wrestling and but still be still make a living. Um, so I mean that's great for Storm. So he's being smart about it. And but no, it's always good to hang with him, man. I mean, like you mentioned, it's 20 years of impact, so we go back even further than that.
Where'd you guys first meet?
We met in Nashville when I first started going down there for wrestling, and he was one of the top guys down there. He's a local kid, and I started making my way up in there, and so we became friends. We wrestled. We never teamed up until TNA, but we wrestled against each other many a time. So we got to know each other and got to hang a little bit. So, but then of course once the TNA took hold, we were brothers, family. Just as close as could be.
What's the story of like getting into TNA? Was that you guys had a tryout match against each other? And I guess Jeff was there at a Burt Prentice show, and then he's like, "Oh, I love these guys," and then he ended up putting you together. Or what's like the whole backstory behind that?
Yeah, it was something like that. Like I said, we were both kind of regulars in the Nashville area, and we worked for Burt Prentice. Um, he always took care of us, and so I guess on the TNA side, they were looking for talent. They were another thing they were doing that night. They were kind of scouting, not they were scouting talent, but they were kind of doing a run through for their broadcast team. I think they were working a little bit on production, things like that. They were there on site to kind of do some finalization for their company, but they were definitely looking for talent. And Storm and I had a program on that in that area, so Bert thought it would be great to put us together for that and just show what we could do. And we went out there, and I don't think people really were there to scout us in particular, but um, stories that I heard later on was that the match just really caught them off guard, and they couldn't believe what they had seen. We really it's still to this day one of my favorite matches, and the crowd reaction was awesome. So yeah, they were once that match was over, I knew Jeff was there, and I'd known Jeff from WCW. So I just kind of went to him since I'd known him more than anybody else, and just kind of looking for approval, I guess. And he nodded at me. He said, "We'll be in touch," and that was all I needed to hear at that time. And I'd say within the next week, Bob Ryder had gotten in touch with Storm and I and signed us to the first show. And
That is
but after that, I think I think kind of the way it happened was they knew they wanted both of us as part of the company, but there were so many moving parts at the time. You have to have your stars involved, to move the radar. But you also want to have your lower card. You want to create new stars, and I think we were in the mix there somewhere, and they just weren't sure what to do with us. So they stuck us together and said, kind of, well, let's see what happens here. And him and I knew that was an opportunity. When the head talent, head riders come to you and give you an opportunity, you kind of have to run with it. So even though him and I were both mainly a singles wrestlers, we looked at it like, hey, if this is our opportunity to get noticed, then let's do it. Let's get together and let's be the best tag team there is. So from that day on, we just worked as hard as we could for America's Most Wanted.
It's pretty great though, as far as like, okay, we're gonna have this match. It's not necessarily a tryout match, but people are watching. It's the best match of the night, and then you get signed from it. Pretty good, like kind of turn of events for you guys.
Yeah, it was great. And Rudy Charles, who is we know now as Dan Englert in WWE, but he was the referee for our match. He got signed out of it. Abyss actually did a run in that match. He wound up getting signed as well. So it was like the little group there that was normally on the Nashville shows. We all wound up getting signed from it, and yeah, it really is because we talk about it in years later as being our tryout match, but it really wasn't a tryout match. There was a card going on. There was a lot of matches on the show, and I think they maybe they pick and choose what they wanted to see. All I know is they saw ours and it worked out for us. So yeah, it worked out really good.
So, as far as you guys, you're in TNA. You guys have contracts. What do they say? They're going to make you a tag team, or what do they say when they first like sign you? Like, we have ideas for you guys, or they don't even tell you that.
No, they didn't even tell us that. We were part of the first show. I think Storm was thrown into a tag match that really didn't mean anything. And I was in because the first event they had the gauntlet for the gold.
Yep.
I was part of that. So I was just one of the many in there. And when we filmed the very next show, we were a tag team. We did a little vignette in the back where we were hanging, and then they came and said they needed a team to go to the ring right now. So Storm and I dropped our gear and headed to the ring. That match, we actually have jeans on in that match, and we won the match. It was kind of like a surprise. So there was a small story in there, but after we won, it was because it was a shocker. People just really got behind us and liked us, and of course, like I said, we had a fan base from Nashville anyway. Well, the first one was in Huntsville, but then once we came to Nashville, it just kind of took off from there. And yeah, they didn't really. I don't think they had a whole lot for us. They were trying to write us into some tag teams, and we wrestled them, and we wound up going undefeated for a while. I don't think that was planned at all. And then the next thing you know, we have an undefeated streak. And then it wasn't long after that, the NWA tag titles were in our sights. So yeah, just I can't say it happened overnight because I know at the time it felt like it was taking forever because it seemed like one week we'd come and there'd be a story, and the next week you'd come and something be changed, or the next week we wouldn't even be on the show. So we did have to fight for it a little bit, but we had their attention and we just kept doing what we knew how to do, and that was we just kind of reverted back to everything we knew about tag team wrestling, what we watched growing up, and during our training, and just applied all that we knew into our tag team, and it got some people's attention. So for whatever we did, and whatever thought process, it worked out, and I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, it was funny because it's almost like an odd couple of sorts, like you and James, like different personalities. Is that what like Vince Russo or maybe Jeff saw? Like they're similar and they're both great workers, but they have such different personalities. Is that what they were kind of portraying to you guys?
I think Vince did because we did some early vignettes where Storm's a cowboy, but he's a cool cowboy. Well, Vince kind of saw it, because when we've all talked about it, Vince Russo looks different on the Southerners kind of thing. So
Yeah.
he looked at Storm and he just really emphasized the whole cowboy thing to where I don't even think Storm was comfortable with it. And maybe he looked more at me like the city boy. I remember one vignette, he had me smoking a cigarette, and which I don't smoke, so I'm not even sure how that added to the character, but we did it. And like I said, I think our wrestling really is what stood out because we were different. So it was two totally different characters, so it wasn't like we were kind of over top of each other. And then we go out in the ring, we did what we did in the ring. And I think just, it's kind of like the fans could crawl to whatever personality you really felt closest to. And I think that helped, that the fact that we were different, but yet we were similar. We're he's from Nashville. I'm from northern Kentucky, so I got a little bit of little country in me as well, but a little redneck. But yeah, it just worked out. It's funny how it did, but we just became the closest of friends.
What does Russo say to you guys like about the team, the America's Most Wanted, or did you guys come up with that name? Like, where did like the name come from?
Yeah, the Storm actually came up with that. I think he had a he tells me that I was part of this, but I guess we had a run in with the officers of Nashville, and and it was just kind of, he said a cop made a comment like, "You guys be careful, you're going to be on America's Most Wanted," and I guess I stuck with Storm because I remember when he came to me later on with it, I said, "That's awesome, let's go with that." Well, there was a little pushback on that because of the TV show was very popular at the time, and and so there was a little pushback on it, but we just kind of we loved it so much, we just wanted to take it as far as we could, and I guess just that was us rebelling. We had AMW printed on the back of our trunks, and we just started wrestling like that, and it's kind of like we slowly evolved to where it was getting around the fans, and we were just kind of being called that, on in media outlets, things like that, and we Mike Tenay and Don West really got behind us, and they were the commentators. Well, every so often, one of them would just kind of throw it in the commentating about AMW or America's Most Wanted, just sneak it in, and then it's like little by little, adding each layer, it just started becoming a thing. And back at that time, Jeremy Borash was doing the ring announcing. Good friends with Jeremy. So Jeremy, at first it was just Harrison Storm. Well, then it got so big to where Jeremy was even like, okay, well, let's go ahead and announce it. And he would announce us as America's Most Wanted. And so like I said, it just became a thing. And we never had got any trouble or anything like that. And, I guess we could have, but it just never really became a problem. So we just ran with it and became America's Most Wanted. And, it stuck for 20 years.
Yeah, crazy, awesome, like perfect name. It just goes together, and even AMW. I mean, it just sounds great. Like
Yeah.
when you think about it and put it together. When you guys are going along and everything is, as you're climbing the ladder, are you happy with your position, or you want to be a single star? You want to be the NWA World Champion. Like, what are your thoughts at this point as you're kind of moving up the card? Yeah, you win the NWA tag titles, but are you thinking about the world title?
I You almost have to. Because I was in singles before TNA. So, yeah, you always think of how great that would be to be the single star and to be the champion. And, if you're not setting your goals on that, then, what are you in there for? But it also made me, kind of turn the corner a little bit with tag teams, because there have been so many successful, famous tag teams out there. And, I started to realize, there's nothing wrong with that. We think back to our, all of our, when we think back to our childhood and the teams we grew up with, that they still have a place in our minds. We still have memories of them, so, and that's what we did, like back the teams that we looked up to, the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express, the Horsemen, the Hart Foundation, the Bulldogs. I mean, those are teams that we will remember from our childhood, and a lot of times they did go on to do other things, but sometimes, it was actually Bully Ray that told me one time. He said it's not bad, it's not a bad thing to be part of a tag team for your entire career, and the truth is, if you can make a career out of it, then there's really nothing wrong with it. So, yeah, I was very happy, and there was even, this is kind of a Russo thing, which I really like Russo. I get along with him great, and I loved having him with us. But he kind of likes to shotgun a lot of things. So, we were together for about a year, and there was already talk of splitting us up. It was such a great thing that I guess he saw. Well, let's see what these guys, if we put them against each other. Well, the trouble is, it's so common especially back then, you split a team up, they feud together for what, a month, 2 months, and then they're just kind of lost in the shuffle. And I kind of felt like that's what would happen with us. So we actually uh, kind of put our foot. I shouldn't say that. That's we knew we had to do what we had to do, but if we were told to split, we would have done it. But we just let them know that we felt that there was a lot more life in America's Most Wanted, and we really pushed that. And I guess they listened because we wound up together for many more years. But there was talk of splitting us up, and we just really wanted to fight for it, because we thought we had something really good going. So um, to answer your question, no. I mean, at the time, no, I was very happy with the tag team titles and being a part of a tag team. And we knew that down the line, the more successful we were as a tag team, the better it would be if there ever was a day where we would split. Because you become stars together, you could become stars on your own. So I knew that time would come, and I'd be able to take care of it when it was there.
And if you look at it, I mean, the strong tag division. Everyone always talks about the X division, and everybody was, praising how great it was. I used to order all those shows. A lot of the times, AMW versus the New Church or Triple X. I mean, you guys were kind of stealing the show and having like the best matches. So it wasn't just the X division people were tuning in for. The tag division was right up there with it a lot of the times.
And that's what we wanted to do. They put a lot of emphasis on the X division. It was something new. They were going to revolve it around AJ Styles. Couldn't have been a better guy. And yeah, it really took a lot of people by surprise. And that was really, like you said, a lot of people did tune in for that. And then you had your major players that were going for the main title. Well, the tag team division, we needed to heat that up as well to keep an interest there. But and yeah, it was kind of revolved around us, and not at first, but within that first year, it was. And um, yeah, our matches with the New Church and Triple X, and you can even throw Simon Diamond, Johnny Swinger in there as well, because we had
Yep,
some really
great
good
feud.
matches then. But yeah, we just had some really good feuds going on, and we would keep doing the return matches. So each week, I was hoping that people would want to see it again, and they would tune into to the return matches. And then Triple X, we took it to a whole nother level with the cage and going on from there. And then it was even better, the more eyes that were getting on us, going to Fox Sports and then going to Spike TV. The more eyes we got on us, the more attention there was. And yeah, I was very proud of that people were tuning in for the tag team matches, because we were uh, and I've mentioned this before, but tag team wrestling at the time, around 02, 03, it was just, there was really nothing much to it, which for a lot of years, tag team wrestling hasn't really been the main focus of WWE. And that's what a lot of those guys were doing. They were taking a lot of singles guys, throwing them together as a tag team. They'd be together for a few months, they'd split, they'd feud, and then that would be it. There really wasn't a lot of focus on that. So when we came around, we were doing what we had been taught back, in like the 80s, tag team wrestling when it was hot. And so we started applying that to our matches. And I think that's what really got people's attention. It wasn't that we were doing anything drastically different, it's that they hadn't seen it in so long. So for us to go out there with teams like that and really adapt to any style that we could, I think people were just excited to have tag team wrestling back again, because in my opinion, a tag team match can be even more exciting than a singles match. You got double the people, double the excitement, double the action. Yeah, I was very happy about that, and it was we were just going out there doing what we knew.
Why is that though? That for years they kind of went away from tag wrestling, WWE especially. I mean, they were always kind of not really all in on. But why do you think that is? That tag team wrestling isn't higher in the card than it probably should be.
Um, I really couldn't explain, man. I mean, because I grew up in the '80s tag team wrestling, and even early '90s, and it felt like there was just more to it then, and they were featured. Sometimes would be a main event for the tag titles, and somewhere along those, somewhere in the mid to late '90s, I guess it seemed to be more of two single stars getting together and winning the tag titles. And, really, you just don't put them up on that pedestal the same way you do some of the named tag teams. And it was really, really bad around then. Like right after I guess it was still the Attitude Era, but yeah, there just wasn't a lot of hot teams around that time. I think that's another reason why teams like Edge and Christian, the Hardys, and the Dudleys really took some attention because they were given a platform and they hit a home run with it. So a lot of people were looking at that like, that this is what we love tag team wrestling, and you can throw the New Age Outlaws out there too. But the time it came around with us, it was like '02. It was fading away again. And so for us to come out and, and of course, there's a tension on TNA anyway, just being the new kid on the block. But yeah, we're going out there and having tag matches the way we watched and learned. And it just got a lot of attention, man. So, I don't know why more promotions don't really focus more on that. I think AEW's done a great job with it. And Impact still does a great job with it. So maybe it was just a Vince thing. I don't know. I've heard that he just was not a tag team guy. And so, it wasn't important in that company. But I love watching some of the tag team stuff on AEW and, of course, in Impact. I always, Good Brothers. I love watching those guys. They've been a tag team for years and all over the world. So I love when the attention is on tag team because it really can be a main event anywhere.
So in '04, kind of the beginning of '04, I don't know if James Storm, I'm trying to remember if he got injured or not, but they start to give you a singles run. Like you beat Chase Stevens one-on-one and you beat Andy Douglas, who are obviously part of the Naturals. Then you beat Shane Douglas, who was kind of like their manager, their mentor, which leads into a world title match against Jeff Jarrett. You lose, but it was like, wow, they're really giving Chris Harris like the big push. Did they say anything to you about at this point? I know you said you didn't really want it to be split up. You guys would end up back together, but were they saying, world title run, or were they pushing you like as far as breaking up the team at that point?
There was a huge push for me. So I can't argue with the push. But Storm, yeah, he was injured. He had a shoulder injury, so he wasn't going to be wrestling. And I'm glad that they didn't decide to do the breakup then, because that's kind of what people would expect, especially for me going after the world title. You can always go with a jealousy angle or anything like that, and we didn't go that way. So Storm was 100% supportive of the whole thing, and yeah, I got a great push. And they put me in there with some of the main guys, Raven, Ron Killings, AJ. I was right up in line with them and got put in those type of matches and got the real big push for a great match with Jeff, and that just goes to show me that Jeff trusted me with that. And as far as talk with the world title round, I've heard that there was talk of that, and for whatever reason, this person liked it, this person didn't. So I don't necessarily know the whole story or the real true story, but I've heard it from Vince himself that he wrote that for it to culminate with a world title. So I've never looked back on it and gotten frustrated with it or anything. I think it would have been great. Of course, I'd have loved it. Would add to my resume to be NWA World Champion. But I can count on one hand how many times I've actually wrestled for it, and even those times are thrilling. Just to have those matches with Jeff Jarrett as he held the NWA World Title, a title that I watched growing up. Even that is just thrilling in itself. So, and then I was also part of the King of the Mountain matches. I was part of 2 of those. So to be in line with those, because they only take the top 5 guys to put in matches like that. So I was very fortunate to be in the crowd with that. So, but yeah, I'm glad they didn't do anything with the team once that was over. Timing was just right for that was when we started going to Orlando, and we were getting ready to go on to Fox Sports. And when we were going on to Fox Sports, I think they wanted all their pieces in the right play. And they took me and put me back with Storm. We did the tag team thing again. AJ had been world champion, but they
Yep.
thought he might be better off back in the X division. So AJ won the X division title, and then Jeff had the world title. So I think they wanted all their pieces in play for us to get the more exposure. And so that just kind of worked out like that. And then we just, carried on. We went a few more years together.
Yeah, it seemed like okay, you were getting the push. Maybe you end up being a world champion, lose to Jeff. You beat Raven, then you lose to AJ. So it was like maybe getting that world title push. Like you said, Russo must have liked you because it was talked about, right? That you were going to win the title.
Yeah, there was definite talk. But for whatever reason, whatever I heard, it was like a conversation, like from one week to the next. Like from one week, I was going to win it, and then the next week they decided to go in a different direction. So I'm not sure what happened there. It's not. I don't weigh in on it. So what happens happens, and I was very happy to be involved with what I was. So yeah, with Jeff, with AJ. It was great just to be considered in the world title mix.
It's funny. It's like whenever like you'd go to either Fox or Spike or something, everybody would end up kind of where they were. It was like Jeff gets back the world title. You guys go back to the tag team. AJ goes back to X Division. Seemed like that happened a few times, almost like a reset every time you guys got a major deal.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was. It was a little reset. They were comfortable putting these guys in these spots, and if we're going to go to a whole new audience, then let's put our best in there. So AJ is probably the best. I mean, hell, he's probably the best wrestler around, even still today. But he was the best in that X division. I mean, he made it. I think we were the best tag team going on at the time. So, and then Jeff was just. I think a lot of it was comfort level too. Jeff, help running the company. Who are you going to put as your main guy? Well, I mean, you don't want somebody in there that might turn around and leave you next week. So he was very comfortable with himself being in that spot. He had been there before. So, I know it gets a lot of flack for that, but when you're putting all the, you're putting everything into this creation of yours. You got to have guys in the right spot, and he knew that he was the right guy at the time. So, but yeah, it does seem like that. I mean, they did a reset each time.
You guys were definitely the stalwart of the tag division because they bring in Team 3D. You guys have a great few great matches. James Gang, which is obviously Billy Gunn and Road Dogg, you guys have great matches. LAX comes along and you guys kind of put them on the map and you guys have great matches. It really felt like you guys were the glue no matter what year or whatever it is or who do you bring in. You guys were the glue of the tag division.
I felt like that, and I really, that's a big honor for me. And I think Storm would tell you the same thing. I know when the Dudleys came in, that's when we started talking. Is there a split, or is there room for maybe a heel run? Because we had been top baby faces that whole time, and I kind of thought, maybe it's weird. You hear stories about later on when you think of stuff when you're growing up, about people turning heel and maybe putting up a big fuss, or if you're a heel turning babyface, if you have all this heat, just there's actually some truth to it, because America's Most Wanted was such a huge name in the tag team division, in all of wrestling, not just TNA. I mean, we were making the magazines and the dirt sheets, and there was a lot of talk about us. And for us to turn heel, it's like, well, we're letting the fans down, and so there is a little bit part of it, no matter whether it's part of what you do in wrestling. It's just but there was thought of that, but hey, if it could breathe a little bit more life in us, maybe it's time to take that run. And so we did it. We aligned ourselves with Jeff. You get instant heat just by doing that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we had another run like that, and so then when the Dudleys come in, it's perfect timing, because they're going to get over like crazy. And you take your number one tag team, turn them heel. It's just a natural fit. So I was very, very fortunate to be able to work with those two guys, because even though we had been a tag team for maybe 4 years at that point, uh, we were still learning. I mean, there was things that we were learning from working with Bubba and Devon. Even though we'd been together for a while and we felt like, hey, we're making our name in wrestling. You don't always know everything. You just sometimes you got to get brought back down. And working with those guys, and they really did everything they could to put us over his heels. Who would have thought that the Dudleys walk into a brand new company and instantly put over the number one tag team in there. They had no qualms about it at all. We left them laying in a pool of blood. I mean, guys just don't do that every day. So we were very lucky that they were willing to come in and play ball with us. And of course, working with them guys it was just awesome. We learned a lot. The James gang was just all I can say about those guys is just fun. They just make it fun. And Billy and Brian, still to this day, some friends of mine. But yeah, at the time, we did a lot of house show runs with those guys. So we were with those guys for a while, and each time we'd go in, we'd try to make it make sense, but we'd also have fun with those guys. So yeah, so many teams that we got to work with. And you mentioned LAX. I think that was about the end of our run as heels.
Yep.
Right about that time, but it was great working with those guys. So yeah, I mean, there was nothing. I really loved it. For the years that we put into that team, we got to work with some great teams, and that's really what made us. It takes four to make a match great. So all these teams that we worked with, they just helped elevate us each time.
So with LAX kind of ending AMW, so to speak, storyline wise, did you like the feud that you're going to, the fact that you're going to feud with James Storm? Because we talked before, it's like, oh, they always do that. Tag teams break up and they feud. But now it's 4 or 5 years later, and you guys did you enjoy the feud? Did you think they gave it enough time? Did you think they gave it enough level of importance on the card?
Yeah, I don't have any complaints with that. I felt like they did it. I would say that we could have gone even longer without breaking up, but we had been together for 5-6 years at that point. So I think both of us were kind of ready to try. Let's see what else we can do, and because we've been a tag team for so long, maybe they think that's all we can do. So yeah, we were both on board with it, and we knew that we were going to beat the hell out of each other. Because that's what people wanted. When he turned on me, man, he had some instant heat with that. And yeah, considering the story, I think it was built very well. I didn't like not being on TV a lot, but with the injury, that's just kind of the way it worked out. So with him hitting me in the eye with a beer bottle, it was kind of like I had to be off. But yet they kept me. I was still doing maybe interview or run in or things like that. So I felt like I was still part of the show. But they gave us some time. It wasn't rushed. The only thing that I think a lot of us would agree that we wish we'd have done different. Our first match together was the blindfold match. And when it comes to the angle and the story, I think a lot of people would agree that, okay, that makes sense. It makes sense to do a blindfold when he blinded me. So in Wrestling 101, that's what would work. Well, in today's society, the people they're just not buying it. And that's not what they wanted to see. They didn't want to see a gimmick match. They wanted to see Storm and Harris beat the shit out of each other. And so once we got through that debacle, that's when it was presented to work towards the Texas Death Match. So I kind of felt like, whatever we brought down with the blindfold match, we brought it back up with the Texas Death Match because, people I still get questions about it still to this day about that match. So, Storm and I went out and did what we thought we needed to do and give people exactly what they wanted. They wanted us to kill each other, and let's see where it goes from there. And we had a couple more matches, and then it was on from there. Let's see if these two can hang in their singles run.
It's funny, Sacrifice 07. I mean, I remember that match very well. You guys killed each other. Seemed like a little, not animosity, but it seemed like a little bit extra sting. You know what I mean? Like you guys really were like, okay, let's really kick each other's asses in this one.
Yeah, that's just how it has to work. You can't go out there and just, run a bunch of spots, and think about every move you're going to make, especially in a program that emotional, because we really had the people on the edge of their seat with it. So we had to go out there and we had to perform. And if that meant us bashing each other in the head several times, with weapons, that's what it was going to take, and then we hug in the back and have a beer together, whatever it takes. But we knew going out there, as professionals, that's just the way it has to happen. And yeah, I may have laid it in a little bit, and I might have had to apologize for a couple things. He may have done the same, but we don't regret it. Neither one of us regret it. We look back on it very fondly, and yeah, it was great, man. And even after the Texas Death Match, there was another match they showed on Impact that doesn't get nearly talked about as much. Just because it's kind of the forgotten match, but it was setting up for the King of the Mountain '07. And so Storm and I were asked to go out there and do it again. It wasn't a Texas Death Match, but we kind of turned it into one. So yeah, I was very, very happy with the story. I was very happy with the matches, and even the blindfold match. I mean, it was an experience. We just we just had to get through it.
With that though, it's like, okay, you have that great feud. Let's see what you do. Then it's like, okay, maybe Kurt Angle, a loss here, there. Christian beats you, Booker T beats you. It's almost like it was the writing on the wall that these XWE guys were coming in and beating you, the stalwart of TNA. You know what I mean? Was that the writing on the wall of why you wanted to leave pretty much after that?
That played a part in it. I felt like I was on to something good though after Storm, because they fed me right into the King of the Mountain match.
Yep.
And as I said before, this is 4 or 5 years later than after the first one that I was a part of. So to be back in the title picture, I felt like was really good. Kurt pulled that one out, but I walked out with a program with one of the best in the business, Christian. So I had a very short program with him, and after that, I went with Dustin Rhodes and had a short one with him. But that's kind of when I started seeing something. All the WWE guys were coming in, and it's almost like instead of me being built as a contender, and people feeding me, I felt like I was feeding them. And you went through a few of the names already, but it seemed like it was a every week thing. And I'm a team player, and I definitely want to be loyal to TNA. So I'll do whatever it takes, but there just wasn't any talk. Anytime I asked questions about where we were going with anything, they just didn't have anything solid. And there was nothing really going on. It was just kind of like I was, if I had a match, it was feeding somebody else. And so there just wasn't anything going on. And I remember questioning Vince even. And by that point we were close, and he didn't know what was going on. So I kind of looked at that as like, well, I've been with this company for years now. Let's take advantage of the momentum that I have going, because I felt like I'd had a lot going at that time, and it was just that was like I said, that was a small part of it. That was definitely not the major focus. My contract was coming up then, and I was a little frustrated, but that didn't seal the deal. I mean, I know that in the wrestling business, you're at top for a little bit, then you're at the bottom, then you're at top, then you're at the bottom. I mean, that's just how it works. So that definitely didn't have anything to do with it. But it's just a little bit of everything played a part into that. But yeah, I never wanted to leave. I really didn't want to leave TNA.
So how do you get into WWE and get into their system? Obviously, it's ECW, but you're in WWE. How'd you get signed there and become Braden Walker of all things?
Well, I think everybody has a story with this. Um, it works out for some, and it doesn't work for others. And for those that it doesn't work, there's always a story to it. So yeah, so I wind up leaving. My contract was up, so it was my choice, and I got signed by WWE. And it's just funny because when you first go in, just the way they treat you and all the future plans they have for you. It's just everything sounds so great, and it's going to be awesome, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and and then once I start talking to the writers and I'm just communicating, trying to communicate more with them. There was just there they had absolutely no idea what they were going to do. For example, I was told, go ahead and bring your AMW jacket. Let's take a look at that, and maybe we like that kind of look. And so I brought it. They didn't even want to see it. I mean, if they saw it, it was for 2 seconds, and then that was completely gone. So they weren't interested in doing that. And it was when they were going to debut me with no um, just no background, no nothing. They wanted to do it with a whole new name, which I kind of accepted that going in. That wasn't a problem, even though I felt like I had a pretty decent name on my own. It's not uncommon to go to WWE and have a name change.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so that really didn't. I kind of went into it knowing, okay, well, what do we got? We went through. It was the day of. I thought there would be a little bit more preparation, but the day of, we went through some names, and I was trying to give my input as much as I could. But in the end result, we wound up with Braden Walker. So it was, and I go out there and just no build up whatsoever. It was just kind of like here's this generic guy going out there, and even my gear was kind of made up that day. Um, Nothing to it, no story, no nothing. And I go out there and have my match, and um, even my match, they were picking apart, because I felt like I mean, I know how to wrestle, but even before I went out, we're trying to rush to do a pre-tape, which we wound up having to do it live right before my match. And once that was done, I had to run to a gorilla position to even go out for my match. And as I'm there, it's like they were taking away this move or taking away that move, and I just couldn't be me. Is what it really boiled down to. Any of my moves that I was doing, I mean, the only thing I was left with was a clothesline. Um, so I went out, and it just, I don't know, just looking back on it, one of the examples I bring up, Ron Killings and I, who people know now as R-Truth, we were signed at the same time. And maybe it was because he had worked for them in the past, but I just felt like they put a lot more effort into him. Um, and this is not a shot on Ron. I love Ron. I love that he's still there. Uh, but for example, his music. His music was something that he had put together, and they allowed him to use that. So that props to him for that. But they even sent a camera crew down to I think he's in North Carolina, to his hometown, and they filmed a little, just maybe some of the streets, where he came from, and that they just put a little background into a little story, so that you at least cared about this guy that was coming out, R-Truth that was coming out. Had a little background on him, and he's coming out to music that he's come out to before, and he's comfortable, and it just, I think that there's a big difference between what he did and then what I did. With me, it was generic music, generic gear, generic, not even a generic story, just no story at all. Um, so yeah, the name was thrown together, everything was kind of thrown together, and I was thrown out there, and all I could rely on was, okay, this is what I'm forced to do. Let me go out and wrestle and be me. Well, they wouldn't even let me do that. So it was just complete breakdown of everything. They went from promising you the moon and to not knowing what to do, and then you're just kind of thrown into the mix.
So, have you ever seen like the videos online where they have like the jokey Braden Walker, like, and the time he talked to Matt Hardy backstage, and then it's like you saying to Armando Alejandro Estrada, like, "I'm gonna punch your damn teeth down your throat," like, the funny little jokey videos, just because they didn't do anything with you, and like people were thought it was like so funny. It's like, let's just create this, this funny thing of Braden Walker. They did absolutely nothing with this guy.
Yeah, I've seen them. I didn't see them at the time, but yeah, I mean, it's hard not to. And I just try to get a laugh out of it. Just what it is, what it is. I think that for people to put the time in to make something like that, they must have seen what I had done in TNA. They must
Right.
have seen a little bit of something. So I think, in a way, while some people may think it's a slap in the face, it's another way of letting people know that here was a guy that they obviously could have done something with. We've seen what he can do in TNA. We've seen his wrestling capabilities. We've seen he can talk. He can do promos. He can. He's got a good look to him. Just everything. Checking the boxes. So for them to put this in there and say, hey, and talk about the WWE run and the shots with Matt and Armando, and it's just it. I think it was just a kind of it was a letdown to everybody, not just me. But anybody that was excited for me to go there and, hey, let's see Chris Harris on this level. I almost feel like I let everybody down as well, because it wasn't. It was a bust. It was not at all what I expected. It was not at all what anybody else expected. You can always point fingers to me, to them, whatever the case may be. But the truth is, it just didn't work. And I try to say I don't have a lot of regrets in wrestling. But that it was definitely a mistake to go there. The only thing that came out of it was, at least that way I knew. I can look back and say, now I know what it's like to be there. So for anybody that has had has run into the wall or in WWE, I feel for him, because I know what it was like. It was a short time. I know some guys last years and walk out of it and hated every second of it. So I guess I'm actually fortunate that I didn't stay long. I was there less than a year, and I know that when I got out of there, it was probably the first time I had smiled in that entire year.
Wow. Not happy at all then, obviously, with
No,
them.
it was that I was miserable going to work. Um, just yeah, I mean the anxiety of being in a place like that. I just didn't even want to be in the back. It was a toxic environment. It really was, and that's my opinion. I know a lot of people would say I'm just bitter, but I can only go by what I went through. Then I mean I would want to go and hide in a corner somewhere. I wouldn't even want to be seen. I didn't even want to be there. So yeah, when I got out of there, I was happy. I didn't know what my next step was, but I really didn't care. It couldn't have been any worse than what I was going through.
What did you think about Vince McMahon?
Um, I met him once while I was there, and that was I think he had just gotten off the phone, and so I took it upon myself and went up and introduced myself and said thanks for the opportunity, and that was really it. Um, he looked at the few pre-tapes that I did. He would take a look at that, give his yay or nay kind of thing on it. But there was just no interaction with Vince whatsoever. Now I'm very aware that from the time that I was coming up in wrestling, when if you got signed with the WWE, you had a meeting with Vince, or you may have had a meeting with the writers, or things like that. I realize that the company is much bigger than it was back then. Vince may not know everybody, but I felt like he anybody that works for him, he should have some kind of a relationship with. And that's just not how it is there. You get signed by one of the talent relations guys. I was told to go down to Florida. It was before NXT. It was Florida Championship Wrestling. So I was going down there. I was spending my weeks there. Whether I was on TV or not, I was spending my time down there. Um, it was almost like I was learning to take bumps all over again. When that's the last thing I needed to do. By the time I went to WWE, I don't know my age, but I knew I had limited bumps left in me. That's why I wanted to go there, because the next time my contract came around, the opportunity may not be there. Um, so I was very limited, but so I don't think I needed to be in there taking 1,000 bumps every day at the training facility. So um, Yeah, it was just I was unhappy all around, and I talked to Vince one time, and that was it. And it was very short. So how hands on he is with people at the time or now, I'm not sure, but yeah, I didn't have a relationship with him at all.
So as we head for the finish, we head towards the wind down here. We did talk about, TNA and make a return here. I know through the years, like 2010, 2011, you had some TNA returns. So you left WB, you did kind of make a return to Impact. Was there ever going to be a long-standing return where you came back to Impact and TNA full time, or no? As far as like 2010, 2011, 2012 era.
Yeah, I think it was 2011. They brought me back, and I thought that was going to be because I had had a couple years off. I wasn't in the right frame of mind when I got out of WWE, so it was probably a good thing that I didn't go right back there. Uh, Besides, I think that they wouldn't take me anyway. I mean, they were still pissed off about me leaving. But the time I did go back, I really did think there was some long term plans with that one. I think the beer money was very successful. They were kind of having a ride of their own, and then I came in to team with Matt Hardy. I think something had happened to Jeff, so they needed a partner for Matt. And we kind of did a few matches with
Beer money.
Matt and myself and Beer Money, and I really enjoyed that. And the story was presented to me of doing something where Bobby gets injured, Storm needs a partner. I try to fill in, but maybe I'm maybe manipulating my way back into the team and shutting Bobby out. I mean, there was a lot of talk of things like that. Um, and of course I was on board. I was just happy to be back with them. I was happy to be a part of the storyline, and to be able to team back with Storm again was even a bonus. Um, but yeah, it was quickly shut down. It's just amazing the way things happen in wrestling. I get that talk one day, and then the next day it's like, oh, we're going to go a different direction. So I'm not sure what happened with that. That was the one I really thought was going to take off, though. I thought had more of a run in that one, but yeah, I was finished with that, and then as you mentioned, there was a couple other times later on, but that was the one I was ready to go. I was ready to wrestle and be back a part of it, and for whatever reason, it just didn't happen.
So, just random question for you. I was curious. Were you under WCW contract like in 2000? Because I know sometimes you'd be a part of security and you'd be on Worldwide and Saturday Night and stuff. Did you ever have a WCW contract back in like 2000?
I did. I was one of the guys that had been brought in for the security. Um, there was a group of us, mostly from Nashville. It was the group from Nashville. Storm was on that a few times, and but yeah, I was having matches on Worldwide and their Saturday night program. And Terry Taylor was in talent relations. I'd had a good relationship with Terry, and that happened majority of 2000, and then October of 2000 is when I was offered a contract. So I did sign a contract in October, thinking that I finally made it to one of the big two. This is and they obviously they're happy with my work, or they wouldn't have signed me. Maybe now we get a story going, but as we all know now, looking back on it, there was so much more going on behind the scenes than I could even imagine. So it wasn't just me trying to keep a job. Everybody else was as well, and the place was out of business within 6 months. So yeah, it was the unthinkable. The big two in my childhood coming up was WWF and WCW, and to be able to sign with one of those two companies was huge for me. So I really thought things were going to take off, but um, to have the company go out of business, just something you never thought you'd see. So yeah, it was very 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 big disappointment there.
Now, as far as like for you now, like what's next? Like what are you up to next? I know you said you do some agenting and stuff like for wrestling. Do you know what's next or what's coming up down the corner? Any other projects you got going on?
Um, just things I mentioned before. I'm coming off the high of the Impact thing. That was so great. I'm just so fortunate that I got the opportunity to do that, and I got a great relationship with everybody there. Very close with Scott Demore, going back years and years, back to the Team Canada days. Um, and I think Scott gave me that opportunity. Scott gave me the platform to come in, and if that's going to be the last ride, then I'm glad I was able to do it then. So I'm very happy with that. No need to trample on that and try to come up with some more stories. But yeah, as far as the wrestling world itself, I'm really big into the conventions now, and any bookings I get, I do appearances. If I'm involved in wrestling at all, it's with Storm, where he wrestles and I'll be in his corner. I can get physical, but just not carry on a match. So yeah, that's kind of where I am, just taking bookings like that. And especially, I remember when I did, it was a couple years ago now, but for Storm's 1000th match, I came into Impact and was there for a few weeks of that. And we actually got some bookings out of that. So just being on TV for a short time helped with some appearances for both of us. And so that's kind of what I'm hoping with this one, to get something out of it. And but yeah, just I'll keep my name out there as much as I can, and love interacting with the fans. But as long as I'm back in the Kentucky, Cincinnati area, I'll be helping these kids get off to their careers. Like I said, I help with the training a couple days a week, and then we have events every weekend. So we stay busy with that, and I'm gracious that Roger Ruffin lets me come in and play a part in here, because I always felt like you couldn't learn from a better guy. And so now hopefully I can play that kind of part into some of these kids' lives and get them out there. And if you go by the numbers, most don't make it. And I try to be honest with them like that. So I want to see the ones that step out of it and make something for themselves. I'd love for, especially now, there's so many opportunities than when I was coming up. So many different companies. The independent scene is even a lot bigger than it was back then. You can make a living even without a contract. So I hope that for all these guys, if I can help them stay successful and get them out there and make a good living, that's what I hope for everybody. I'd love for everybody to be able to make money doing what they love.
Awesome. Great stuff. Before we let you go, give us all the plugs where everybody can find you, social media and otherwise.
My biggest thing is Twitter. That's at AMW Wildcat. I am on Instagram as well. It's AMW Wildcat Chris Harris. I do have merch, but I don't know what that is. Hey, you didn't give that to me. My wife does all my plugs for me.
Nice. I do see the NWA tag title behind you, though. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, man, I got to show that off. That's my biggest accomplishment right there. So, yeah, just try to, any kind of big memories I have, I try to show off. But I had a replica of that one made, so that's big for me. Okay,
yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I said my Twitter and Instagram, and then for my merch, it's amwwildcat.com. You'd think I'd know that, but
hey,
yeah, good. Man, thank you for the plugs. I appreciate it.
Thank you for all the time.
Anybody can get in touch with me for anything like that. So yeah, awesome. That's great.
Well, thank you so much for all the time today. Really appreciate it.
John, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me. I'm kind of admiring your background there. That's pretty cool yourself.
Too much stuff, as my wife would say. Yeah, too much crap. Yeah,
but hey, well, I love it all. At least you're hanging it up.
Yep, true. But thank you so much.
Man. Thanks a lot.